rejuvenation and prolonging overnight beyond the normal span. So, an internal spending.
Morning, sir.
Morning, sir.
Morning, sir.
It's good. It's good to be back.
Okay, I think we're all set. I'll bring up the flags and we can begin.
Sir.
Cortez Subanim, would you like to call command, sir?
Sure, let me do that.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, everybody ready? Cheerio. Cookie buddy. Hello. Mukyum. Hello. 사범님께 형님.
안녕하십니까, everyone. Great to see everyone.
안녕하십니까?
안녕하십니까.
Morning, sir.
Morning.
Sir.
Well, thank you for everyone for joining today. Hope everyone's doing well and a very excellent group today. Big group from Kenyon SBN. There's a lot of people there. That's good. So is that Kenyon SBN in the corner? I couldn't see you, sir. Oh, yes. Good morning, sir. I like the fall look.
Good morning. Well, at the 50th anniversary, I had a full beard. I just thought now at the 80th, I could have a full beard. So we're pulling some tradition out.
Excellent, sir.
Yeah, just a little different color.
Very appropriate. Okay, so today we're very honored to have Townsend-Kenyon as our guest instructor today, and so I'll turn it over to him for his presentation. So we're going to go about 50 minutes or so, leaving time at the end of the session for questions you might have for him and upcoming events and news. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you, SBN, and it's an honor to be here. My name is Dwayne Townsend. I'm in Owasso, Oklahoma, Region 6. My instructor is Bill Hockman SBN, and I've had the pleasure to serve in different roles and volunteer to help where I can. And today's class, we're going to talk about mobility, breath, and adaptability of kicking. And the goal is to help maybe share a few things that have helped me through injury to continue to practice and train and work on my technique without leading to more injury. And in fact, strengthening areas that were injured before so that I can continue training. The last month, we had the Kwangjanim and Hey SBN, and the class we talked about, or they had talked about breath and the ability to, or the desire to compress the breath before you execute the technique and how the breath works through that. And the Kwangjanim had mentioned that technique without breath is like dancing without music. So breath is an integral part in everything that we do. It's a part of our chain of command. We think of ma'um, or our wido, our intent, then hohup, huri, murup, ball or knee, foot, and then palkup, sun, elbow, hand. But breath is an important part of that whole process. Without breath, the technique is incomplete. You've missed the negung of your weigung, negung, and shimgung for the technique to be complete. So our breath can do a lot of different things. It can help us to be tense. It can also help us to relax. It's understanding how that works is going to help you not only in your training, but with anxiety or stress in other areas of your life. You can breathe fast to add more chuk. you can breathe long, right? So longer breaths, a big inhale and a big exhale to be more soft. If you have stress, you can do what's called box breathing, and that's where you can breathe in for 6 seconds, hold for 6, breathe out for 6, hold for 6, and repeat that process, and that will reduce your stress in moments where maybe you had a near accident or something's going on in your life that adds stress to your life. So breath is a very important tool or part of our everyday life that's important for us to understand and control. As we go through today, and we're going to work on a lot of different warm up and mobility, it's important to use your breath to relax. So as we're reaching or we're doing something or maybe trying to stretch something, breathe slow, relax, deep breath in, deep breath, or a long breath out so that you can gain a little bit more range. As we go through the mobility exercises, if there's anything that is painful, please don't do that. If you need to use a chair, please do so. So one of the things that Hayes Sullivan talked about last month is the importance of being able to sit on the floor. That helps increase your range of motion or your mobility. When we start sitting in chairs due to injury or whatnot, that will start to limit our mobility. Seating in a chair is a blessing and a curse, right? It can help relieve some of the stress in our lower body, but over time, especially in the West, it will start to lead to injury because of muscle atrophy, tightening of our hip flexors in the front, and then that will start pulling on different parts of our body that could lead to knee issues, hip issues, and back issues. Some of that is from structural, but I think a lot of that will come down to the mobility and the flexibility we have in our hip area, lower back, and whatnot. So as we go through our warm-up, we'll break out a couple different things that you can do as an alternative, and I'll explain some ways to maybe get a little bit better stretch or mobility out of that exercise. So first, as we're sitting in our daily lives, I work a desk job. I sit at a desk almost all day. I try to move around. I think some of you probably do the same. There are some things that we can do in a chair while we're sitting that helps with our mobility. And if you have a chair, you can use that. I'm going to pull the chair just to demonstrate. One is, as we're sitting, to sit with our back straight. Be careful not to slouch. But if we sit for a long period of time, to help with some of the flexibility on the outside of our hip, to pull our knees up, right? We may end up putting a foot in our seat and pulling up this way on either side. And then another thing you can do is to lay your foot across. And so when you do this, be careful, pull up from your knee, lift up from your lower leg, support the knee here, and then we can either lift up on the ball of our foot, on the base leg, or lean forward, keeping our back straight as we do so. That will help stretch the piriformis, which will relieve pressure if you have some nerve issues from a lack of mobility. But for me personally, it helps to relieve the pressure on my lower back and sciatica. So you have muscles and ligaments that over time, they could put stress on your sciatic nerve, which leads to numbness and pain in your legs. So stretches like this will help relieve the pressure of that. And so if you find yourself sitting, maybe you're at a desk at work, if you could pull that up from time to time and then let that, maybe hold for a few minutes, let that relieve the pressure in your lower back and your piriformis. I think that's going to help you maintain some of your mobility, even though you have to sit for long periods of time. All right, so we're going to warm up, and then as we go, we'll break out a few different things. So, Chumbi, shake your wrists. Okay, rolling forward with your arms. And back the other way, gently. Arms extended out to the side, palms pressing out. Roll forward. And the other direction. Now big motion. Breathe, relax. Other direction. Hands on your hoodie. Look down, try to touch your chin to your chest. Breathe in and out, relax. And now chin to the ceiling. To your left. And to your right. Eyes straight ahead. Roll your hoodie. Ana, dul, set, net, dasit, yasit. Other direction. Ana, dul, set, net, dasit, yasit. Okay, straighten your spine. Bring your left hand up. And then lean over to your right side. You want to push your hip out as you do that. Keep your back straight at the spine. You're just going to be leaning to the left. This is going to help open up the outside of your hips. Okay. Now, straighten your spine, step out, and then reach out in front. You want to have a lunge position here, heels up on the back. You have your hand, your left hand forward. Push that forward some more, keeping your back straight. Now from this position, one thing that we have an issue with is our hip flexors. To stretch your hip flexor, what you want to do is you want to pull your pelvis up. You're going to contract, pull your pelvis up, and then take this hand, reach it up. You should feel that stretch, that pull on the front of your hip. If you need more, lean back to the outside this way. You should feel that pull on the front of your hip and on your quad, and you want to hold that. Relax, breathe in, breathe out. Deep breaths. You can sink further if you need to. And let that open up. Okay, now reach back in front with your spine straight. Breathe in, big breath, leaning back behind, out, and then cast it down in front. The other side, up, leaning to the other side, you're going to hinge at your hips, push your hips out, and stretch to the side here. Deep breaths. Now, looking, straighten your spine, lunge position here, and then push your hips forward to reach out farther. And on this side, pull your hips up. So you want to compress, pull the hip up, feel that stretch on your hip flexor and the front of your quad, raise up high, and then lean to the back. Okay. You should feel that pulling. Relax, breathe in, and out. And when you breathe out, try to push a little more. In, out. Okay, reaching back out to the front. Breathing in, open up, and out. Feet together, hands on your knees. Hana, dul, set, net, dasit. Now typically from here, we'll straighten our legs and try to touch our toes. But when you're standing and bending to the front, that's the time that you can really damage your back. So a lot of us don't stretch correctly, and you end up with the goal of touching your toes, but the goal isn't to touch your toes. The goal is to stretch your hamstrings. So if you have a bong or a stick, one thing that you can do to help with that stretch is to take this, you're gonna hold it behind your neck and in the small of your back. So you're here, you wanna touch your tailbone and the back of your head to the staff. Okay. Then, keeping that touch, spread your feet about shoulder width apart and bend to the front. Keeping your tailbone and your head and everything in a line. You're gonna relax as you do these. Breathe in and out. And every time you breathe out, let gravity pull you down a little farther. In, out. And then come up. And that's something you can do on your own time to work on your hamstring flexibility. I'll do this in my class as we warm up. When you're stretching over one leg or the other, just make sure that you turn your toes out and then keep that stretch so you're down over the leg. One thing I stopped doing when I'm teaching is I don't tell anyone to touch their toes. I just tell them to keep their back straight and stretch to the front. And then we'll pull these out. And what I've seen is increased flexibility and less tightness in my students' backs. Okay, so now spread your feet a little bit more than shoulder width. If you need to use a chair for balance, you can. We're gonna do some no weight squats. The goal is to controlling, go down, come up, and then as you go down, try to go down a little further. One of the best things you can do for your hips, knees, and backs, if you're able to do it, is a deep squat. And that's where you can sit and you put your hips down further than your knees. Some of us can't do that, but the lower you can get, the better it is for your hip flexibility. So from here, you can have your hands out in front for weight, drop your hips down, keep your back straight, and then come up. Ready? Hana. 2, set, net. Now, spread your feet apart a little further. We're going to be going side to side. As we move side to side, it's important not to bend your knee out too far or in from your toes. You want your knee to follow the line of your toes. So as we move to one side, it may be important to pivot on the heel so that your knee can go over the toes this way. Okay? So back straight. We're going to start with our left side. We're going to lean over on that side squat and then go to the right. Back and forth. Hana. Dul. Set. Net. Dasan. As we go, try to get a little deeper. Yasan. Ilga. Yorul. Ahop. Yul. And then come back to center. Spread your feet apart a little bit more. Okay. We're going to start back with the left side. As we do that, we're going to hold. So, Hana, hold. And now, stretch down on the inside of the foot. Roll it over. Back to the side. Pivot onto the heel. Back to the side. Switch. Side. Heel. Side. Back. Hana. 2. And now if you want, you can use your hands on the ground for stability. We're going to go back to the side. We're going to go to the heel first and then go as low as we can. So over to your left, go as low as you can, sinking that hip. To the side, and now pivot all the way forward and then drop your center down. Okay. Come up, to the side, heel, Other side now, you should be down on your right side. Side of your foot, roll it over, long stretch. And up. Side, and then come back to the center, back straight, and then slowly come up, and then walk your feet in. So whenever we warm up, it's important to warm up with motion, not just static stretching. Static stretching is really good to prepare, but the movement helps get our body ready for motion. We're going to go ahead and have a seat, and we're going to cover hip 90-90s. So hip 90-90s are a great exercise to open up your hips for kicking, but also relieve stress from your back. If you can't do this sitting on the floor, the alternative is to sit in the chair and then just bring your knee up, like we talked about, supporting the knee, bring your foot up and hold that. But for those of us that can, go ahead and Anjo Shipseo. Now, hip 90-90s, you have 90 degrees with your hip and knees. So we'll start by facing to our right. Our right leg will come out straight and then 90. Our other leg, our left leg, will come out straight to the side, 90-degree angle to the back. What you want to be able to do is sit up on your hip. If you can't sit up on your hip and you have to lean back, that's fine. But slowly work up to where you can sit on your hip. Now, we'll lean forward over this leg. It's important that this stays at 90. Don't bring the heel in, right? You want it at 90 degrees. And now slowly reach over that front knee. Try to keep your back straight and relax. Breathe in and out. Relax. You can have a little bit of rounding on your back as long as you're not putting pressure on it. Breathe in and out. Let your body weight sink over that. You should feel that in your piriformis, on your backside. Okay. In, out. Relax, in, out. Now, slowly come up. Straighten your spine, and then turn to the back. So you're going to turn towards your right with your back straight, and get a twist here. Hold that. Breathe. Relax. In. Out. Now looking back toward the front, reach over the side knee here. If you can grab it and pull and put your hand on the other knee, that's great. But you want to maintain this sideways motion. If you lean forward, you're not really getting what you need from that hip flexibility. So you need to keep this straight and pull straight into the side of that. If you can't do that, then do the best you can from your backward leaning position, pushing off from the ground behind you to try to get as much of this as you can. When I first started doing that, I couldn't grab my knee. Okay? So over time, you'll be able to do that. And then for those of you that are more flexible, you can reach up from the back and reach over. Okay, now we're going to pivot. The goal is to keep both heels on the ground. If you can do this without touching the ground, that's great. If you have to, you can reach behind you for balance. But what you want to do is you're going to pivot to the other side, keeping your heels on the ground this way. Okay. And then coming back to a 90 degree and a 90 degree. Once we're here, we're going to, again, lean over the front leg, relax. With every long breath out, you want to sink a little further. And if you're sitting in a chair, what you would do is this would be a cross on your knee here, and you're just going to lean forward in your chair. Okay. Now slowly come up, straighten your spine, look to the rear, relax and breathe. And now to the side, again, you want to pull to the side here. If you don't have 90 degrees on your angles, you're not going to get the right benefit. So you want to make sure you have 90 degrees, you're pulling to your side. Relax. Breathe deep. Okay. Now we're going to pivot. So we're going to pivot back and forth a couple of times. Again, if you can do this without touching the ground, that's great. If you have to touch the ground to do so, that's fine. But try to work to where you don't need it. So we're going to pivot to your right. Pivot back to your left. Pivot to your right. And then from here, stand up. A good way to stand up is to push your hips forward up onto the knee here, and then bring this other leg around and then stand this way. That keeps your spine straight and reduces injury. So some of us that may have some knee issues may have to have another way to get up, but the more we can keep our spine straight, the better it is for us and less chance of injury there. Okay, so far with these stretches, are there any questions? Any issues or anything? Pretty simple, pretty simple. Okay, so we're gonna focus on kicking and different ways that we can execute the jockey and different ways to get the reps in to make sure that we enforce the proper process. And the process is the chain of command, right? So Maum or Wido, Ho hoop, or Ho hoop, Huri, Palkup, San, or Maum, Ho hoop, Huri, Mudrap, Ball. You can break that down. So we understand everything that's involved, but you can break down portions of that to get reps in areas that you may need the most reps in. So we're gonna focus on that, but as we break it down, it's important to remember that the complete techniques incorporate Weigung, Negung, and Shimgung as equal parts. So if we're not breathing correctly, the technique is incorrect. If we have the improper line, the technique is incorrect. Or if we have the improper motivation, the technique is incorrect. So we want to make sure that we understand the full process and then do that. And so as we split it up, we're going to still think about that portion of the process. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do a seated front kick. And you can do this from a chair or from the floor. I'll demonstrate both. So from a chair, what you'll want to do is tighten your core, pick your knee up. If you need to pick it up with your hand as a start, that's fine. But the goal is you're going to push the knee down and then extend the ball of the foot at the end, okay? And then you're going to pull this back up, down and out, and back up. So from the side, it's like this. Here the knee is up. We're going to push the knee down. Toes stay back until you get to about this area. Then you're going to push, flex the toes out, extending the knee. We're going to pick the knee up and bring this back up. So that's how we can do that from a chair. If this is too stressful on your back, make sure your core is tight. If you need to, you can hold your leg weight as you work the motion of this. What this is focusing on is the proper process for the extension of the kick, so that you have a thrust kick and not a snapping kick. To do this from the ground, what we'll need to do is sit. So Anjo Shiptail, for those that can't. Then you're going to let's take your left leg, pick the knee up, move the right leg out of the way. You want to keep this in front of your hip, your knee on the inside of your arm. Knee is up, toes are up. You're going to push down on your knee, let the heel slide on the floor, and then when you get to about this position, you're going to push out and finish the extension here. So now you have full extension. You're going to pull up at the same time, almost like you're a puppet, right? And you're controlling the strings. You're going to pull this up and then pull back. So from the side, it looks like this. I'm here. I want to keep my back straight. If you have to lean back, that's okay for now, but you want to work to where you can pull this up into your core. Knee down, and then at about this position, you're going to extend and let this rock out. Ball of the foot, proper line. This is in front of my hip and inside my elbow, and then up. We're going to do this. We're going to do 5 reps of this on each side. So with your left leg, okay. Ready? Down, extend. Up, and pull back in. Dual. And in. And remember your breath. So breathe in here, and then when you extend, you're holding your breath until you extend, breathe out. In, and then down. Toss it. One more. Okay, now to the other side. Pull this in tight. Should be using your right leg now. Remember, hold your breath. You're gonna compress until you get to this position where you're ready to lock out. Then you're going to breathe out here, extending the ball and extending your leg. Okay. And then breathe in. Ready? In and up. Dual. Set. Net. Toss it. And barrow. So that is one way to practice the option agi while seated. Seating gives you the support you need, so you don't have to work on that while standing if you have issues, and it lets you focus on that final process. This is a technique I learned from Kenyon SBN at the Kodanja Shimsa down in Texas several years ago. And ever since that class, I now use it to teach my students the proper positioning for the execution of option agi, so they understand the thrusting motion of that. So thank you, Kenyon SBN. Okay, so from this position, we can also practice with side kick. So what we want to do is you want to bring up your feet, knees up. You're going to pivot on one hip and extend the side kick to the side. Okay. The more you can set up on that, the better stretch you get here. But you want to point the heel, and then you're going to bring this back in this way. Okay. So from this position here, you're up, you're going to extend out. It's important to follow the line. If you're here and extend the knee first without opening this up, you're going to end up with like a side dolio chagi with your heel, which is incorrect. You want to bring this up, leave the heel in front of the line of your hip, and extend out. Okay. So we'll do 5 of these on each side. Ready? Hana. Two. Sit. Net. Dasa. And then now switch to the other side. Hana. Two. Sit. Net. Dasa. and bottom. So for people who have issues sitting on the floor, you can achieve the same thing from a chair. And just think about going to the side. So if I'm seated in this position here, I'm going to look, follow the line out to the side of the chair, and then back. All right, so if I am in this position, it's out in front. If you can pick this up and do it in the air, that's great. If not, just follow the line so that you start building that muscle memory of how your side kick, your Yapoto Chagi, is supposed to travel to the side instead of hinging out at the knee at the end. One more seated Jagi, and that'll be Dolio Chagi. So with Dolio Chagi, we can, if you think about starting kind of like in a hip 90-90, where you're just going to bring this leg out to the side. So bring your left leg out to the side in a Dolio Chagi prep position. If you're having trouble with your chamber position for Dolio Chagi, sitting like this, you don't have to be in a full 90-90. You can pull your knee out more, but moving like this will help you start to build that hip flexibility to allow for that. Now from here, we're going to extend to the front, pivot on our side, and then execute to the front. So you're going to let this travel, but you want your knee off the ground. So here it's on the ground, but as I move forward, my muscle is keeping the knee off the ground, and you're kicking out to the front. Pull your toes back, and then open back up to the outside. Okay, ready? Breathing. So here, you're going to execute the breath at the end. It's going to be a sharp breath. You're going to breathe in all the way in. We're going to do 3 each leg. Ready? Hana. 2. Set. Now, switching to the other leg. So your right leg now is going to be out to the outside. Again, same concept. We want to, knee's going to be on the ground in the line here, but as we execute, our muscle's going to pick that knee up off the ground where our heel travels along. Ready? Hana. 2. Set. And bottom. Heel sits heel. And shut. So for the Dolio Chagi from a seated position in a chair, it's a little bit harder to execute, but you still can. You just have to bring it out to the side. If you hold on to something, you can bring it in and out, but you don't have the same support from the ground to maintain your line. So on the ground is a little bit better for that. And these are techniques that I used when I hurt my lower back to help me maintain at least the line safely while letting my back heal as I was going through that. So now we've covered the seated. So now we're going to cover things that you can do when you're performing or executing your jagi so that you can not only perform the kick correctly, but also protect yourself as you do it, right? So I have, as we progress through the ranks, I will have different students that as they go, they think of front kick and they maybe don't fully understand how to use the hori, so they'll be in a chongol jase and they'll kick forward, but this foot stays forward, right? So they're here, pick your knee up, kick, and then step back. While there's nothing really inherently wrong with that, they're starving themselves of hip motion. The other thing is you're also reducing your range of mobility. When you're using your huri correctly on option agi, that base leg should turn. Your hip turns that, right? So if you think about from the side here, as I go to execute option agi, my hip is going to need to go further forward. What that does is it's going to pull on my leg to turn. The way you allow for that is you lift the heel up slightly to allow that foot to turn. And so you end up with a sideways base leg. You want that because it allows your hip to fully execute forward. If I'm sideways here and I leave this straight, my hip can only go this far. However, if I allow this to turn, now my hip can travel further. The other thing it does is it allows me to be able to have more flexibility as far as height and target without requiring 100% of my capability to rely on my hamstring flexibility. So some key things to remember when we're kicking is we need to keep our knees bent, our hips need to be allowed to move. Pick your heel up at the beginning of the technique slightly just to allow for that travel to work. If you do that, that's going to allow you to kick higher and further without requiring more muscle or more flexibility. So we worked on part of the jagi on option agi with seating, that end motion, the knees up, how to press out, extend the foot, pull back. I think no matter what, where we are with our training, whether we're white belts or Kodanji members, what age we are, what limitations we have, that drill of sitting on the floor and executing that is important to help us retain and remember the proper execution of the thrusting kick. How do we do that standing? And what are some things that we can do to not only work on the process of kicking without maybe fully extending? Maybe you have a back injury and fully extending isn't good for you right now. Or maybe you have students or yourself are having trouble with how to extend the hip. Well, here's a drill that can help with that first portion of that, and then we can put it all together. So with this drill, what we'll do is we'll start in the chungal jase. We're not going to execute the kick. We're just going to push the knee out. What that does is by not setting my leg out fully, I can work on just that beginning process without any undue stress. With all of our kicking, we want to maintain knee bend, hip flexibility, bend in our ankles. By lifting up the heel, we now gain another joint, which is our heel and the ball of our foot. That adds to the mobility. By doing that, it's like adding shocks to a car. If you've ever ridden a car that doesn't have shocks, or maybe a soapbox car, it's really jarring. So by adding articulation into the movement, we can do this and it's safe for our body. So one more time on the demonstration. Sit. So now we're going to do 3 reps each leg. All we're going to do is we're going to contract to bring the knee up. We're going to expand, letting our base leg turn with our knee bent. Without that knee bend, we're going to put a lot of strain on our hips, back, and knees. So knee bent, push the hip forward, push that knee forward, pull it back, and then set back. 3 reps each leg. Chumbi. Left leg back. Chungal jase. Bal chagi. Chumbi. Soup. Ready? Just the knee push. Hana. Soup. Let that leg turn. Do. Soup. Set. Soup. Opakwa. Sit. Ready? Hana. Soup. when you're executing your optanagi and you look for ways to improve, maybe with yourself or with your students, if you see them struggling and that base foot isn't turning, that base foot is an indicator that maybe they're not getting their full range of motion or their hip isn't involved. So allowing that to turn is important. Dolio-chagi. With dolio-chagi, it's the same type of concept, but you want your heel to turn around more. This allows you to stack your hips and execute. We're going to do the same thing, and we're not going to fully execute the technique. We're just going to execute and push the knee. Okay? So it'll be like this. We're going to chamber to the side, push the knee, let this leg turn however it needs to turn to execute the technique. What you'll find is depending on the dolio-chagi you execute, your turn of your leg is going to operate differently. So if you do a long thrusting dolio-chagi, your heel should end up pointing at the target. If you're doing a short dolio-chagi that comes in at a 90, like with some of our Hoshin Sul, your foot won't turn as far because it won't need to. And it's not about turning your foot. It is and it isn't. Turning your foot is an indicator. It's kind of like when you're driving down the road and your gas gauge gets low. That's an indicator letting you know you're running low on gas. You can't go grab the needle and move it back to full and have more gas, right? It's just an indicator. So when you're working that and you're having trouble, look at, am I bending my knees? Is my core tight? Is my back straight? Do I have the proper line? Is my heel up when I start to execute so that I can fully extend? These are things that you can do to not only help improve your technique, but also help with your mobility so that doing these techniques aren't damaging. We'll do the dolio-chagi. We'll do the dolio-chagi 3 times each leg, and then we'll cool down. Okay. Chumi. Left foot back. Dolio-chagi. Chumi. Hey. Okay. So pick up our knee to the side. Keep our knees bent. Push the knee forward. Lift your heel slightly so that your leg can pivot. Ready? Hana. Swoop. Do. Swoop. Set. Swoop. Alpha. Hey. Ready? Hana. Swoop. Do. Swoop. Set. Swoop. Borrow. Show. Double tangent. So for cool down, what we're going to do is just a few of the same exercises that work on the front of our hip, and then we'll be open for questions. So let's go back to this motion here where feet slightly wider than shoulder width. Take your left arm up, reach over, push that hip out. Now straighten the spine, pivot into a lunge position here. Crunch or pull up your pelvis, rock your pelvis up, and extend that hand out further. You should feel it on the front of your hip. If you don't, try to get in a lower stance or rock your weight more to the front. Okay. Reach this up, and then lean to the back as much as you can. It should be a little uncomfortable, but not painful. Back out to the front. Breathe in, expand, and out. Other side. Up. Over. Breathe. Straighten your spine. Look. Pivot. Roll your pelvis up. Push your hip forward. You should feel it on the front. If you don't, move your weight more to the front or deepen that stance. Raise this arm up. You should feel it intensify. And then now to the back. Relax and breathe. Holding your breath does not allow your body to extend. You have to relax and breathe deep. And now reach back out to the front. Breathe in and expand. And out. Paro. Kamsahamnida. Are there any questions? All right. Well, hopefully, some
So
of
we
these
have
exercises.
one, Mr. Chenard.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I was curious because I've had both my hips replaced, and the doctor told me not to do most of the motions you were just doing. So I
Yes,
was
sir.
curious, does anyone else who's had their hips replaced, can they do it? Because he told me I can pop my hip right out of the joint if I do like that cross-legged where I sit and you cross your leg and things like that. So I was curious, is it true? I haven't tried it, so I was wondering if there are others who have had their hip replaced and can still do that.
Sir, I would ask, has it been a long time since they've been replaced, the hip?
2 years on the right side and 3 years on the left.
Okay. I had right side 13 years ago, but I would say, you know, I can do all of those moves, but I work very slowly into it.
Okay.
You know, but eventually I was able through a lot of stretching and all of that. So, and I was never told I couldn't do that.
Oh, okay. Both my doctors told me that. So I
Yeah.
thought that, yeah, it might be true because both of them said, yeah, don't do the cross-legged where you rest your foot anymore. And he said, don't sit cross-legged Indian style. He said, all of that
Wow.
is gone. He said, you can't do that anymore. He goes, you can pop your hip out.
Really?
So,
Okay.
yeah.
I mean, I don't want to say anything,
That's why I was
but
curious.
Sure.
maybe after
Please-
years you may.
Okay.
Please
Thank
follow
you.
your doctor's advice.
Please
obviously.
listen to your doctor. But
Right. I'm no doctor. I just
understand.
do a lot of these. None of the things that we've gone through today are anything that I've made up. These are all things I've learned from other instructors or from physical therapy. I've been through a lot of physical therapy for my back, and so things that I've done through physical therapy, like hip 90-90s and bending with the staff and all that, have helped me regain my posture and my strength. So, but again, if that's gonna pop your hip out, that's definitely not something that you would want to do. So,
Listen, I was just curious if anybody else had this experience, so thought I'd bring it up. Thank you.
Is Townsend-Kenyon still in the room there? I have a request, sir.
Yes, sir.
During one of the Kotanja Shimsas, you had shared an excellent technique of getting up off the ground from a cross-legged position, pendulum, that I found extremely useful. I don't know if you could share that. I think that would be pertinent to what we've been talking about today. Here, I'll highlight him here. Hang on. I'll spot.
That's great.
It's all yours, sir.
Thank you. For the Silver Moo Do In group, we've kind of talked about the proper way to get up off the floor as practitioners, as martial artists, that we should do it with some sense of grace, some sense of control. So there's a few options in order to do that, depending on flexibility. One of them is to extend the outside legs out in front of you. And that way, what you can do is use your opposite arm to press up on, rolling up onto your knee. So this allows you to come up on a knee. And from that position, you can use your hand on your knee together, kind of press yourself up and rise from that position. So I'll do that again from a side position. So we're here. Extend the outside leg further out in front of you. That gives you a little more length. Put your hand close so that you can rock your hip and press forward. That allows you to get your weight over the top. And then rise up from there. Get your toes underneath you and use your hands on your thighs to help you lift. So that way, one of the big things that they say that takes people out as they get older is having weak legs, especially the quadriceps. So when you have weak quadriceps, you're not as mobile. You don't get up out of bed, you don't get up out of the chair, and then you also then don't socialize. And they say one of the biggest issues as we age and become more senior, that we need to keep our quads strong. So getting on the floor and getting up off the floor, I think, is an intricate part of that. The second option is we're in a seated position. And essentially what I'm going to do is kind of roll to my side as I pull my foot out this way and use both hands on the floor. I'm going to tuck the inside leg and I'm actually going to cantilever it back behind me. As I do that, use that momentum to swing it around and then adjust your body up. So you end up kind of in a sakaripjase. So I'll try that one more time. I'm in a seated position and I'm just going to roll over and get my hands both on the floor. My hands both on the floor. I'm going to shoot that inside leg in a circle around and then use that to be able to stand up. So the second one that I just did may take a little more flexibility with your hips. And you can adjust yourself around. And if you can do that, it's a very quick way to get up. The other one, we kind of roll forward and you don't have to have as much flexibility and use your hands on your thighs to help you lift. But it's important that we can get to the floor and we can get off the floor. And I think that as a practitioner, we can do it with some grace. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
감사합니다.
Is there any other questions? Sabanem Bonsignore or Sabanem Cortez, anything you'd like to share?
No, I'm good.
Okay, thank you, sir. Well, thank you, everyone, for joining. We had a very nice group today. Hopefully we find this all beneficial and be able to modify it to meet your needs. I think that's one thing he was stressing, and to maintain the integrity of the art and apply the philosophy of the practices, even in technique. It's not about how fast we get there, it's how we get there. So thank you very much, Townsend-Kenyon, for your time today.
Thank you, sir.
So if I'm going to bring up the flags for the bow out, please.
Que pare. Pro. Munyam. Sure. Yeah. 사범님, 긍해. 감사합니다.
Samnida, everyone. Great to see everyone. Great class. So take care. See you next time.
Thank you, Sabanem.
수박.
Subak.
For everyone, and congratulations to our team members that are going to be demonstrating this program at the 80th in Korea. And that's going to be on the direction over there of Trevlin Sabanem, supported by Lockwood Sabanem. So thank you. This is the first time we'll be demonstrating internationally. So as a team at this historic event. So thank you for everyone's continued support. Next month will be the third Saturday of the month for Zone 2. And in November, we're going to work out some details that hopefully this could be presented from Moment with the Masters, which hits that same weekend. So look forward to seeing everyone very soon. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
Thank you.
Good luck. Bye-bye.